right, well, good morning. We're trying some new things today. We are going with 9 a.m. live on Sunday morning. So my name is Tanis, and I am not really a morning person. Are you a morning person or a night owl? Would you comment and let us know if you're more of a watch on demand later or if you're ready to go bright and early? Today we are interviewing someone that a lot of you know, Miss Diane Smith, and we're talking all about relationships and what we can do in this time to still stay relationally connected and to help our relationships grow. Parents, we have a great opportunity for you to grow your relationships with your kids. If you tune in to Kidville on our YouTube channel, there's specially designed content to help them at their age, the age and phase that they're at, and maybe you'll learn something too. So check that out at Kidville on YouTube. Each week, we hope that something from today's teaching would help you grow closer to Jesus, that you would take a step in that direction. And so some next steps are easy and simple. You can join us for Facebook Live prayer. You can tune into your Bible app and follow along, read along. You can share this post with someone else who might need to grow as well. Another step you can take is through giving. It's a way to show God that you're putting more trust in Him to do more with that money than you could do alone. So up next, we're going to sing a song. Join us, sing together, sing loud, and let's pray before we get started. God, we thank you that you created us to have relationship and that you desire to have a relationship with us. Help us as we learn and as we grow to love others the way that you've loved us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Over everything, our redemption. right, so I don't want to make light of the situation, and especially in this pandemic that we find ourselves in. But let me just ask you this question, because it is really serious. But let's say that you died today, all right? So you're watching this, you died today. How many people in your mind would go to your funeral? I mean, that is supposed funerals are allowed now, but how many people would you expect at your funeral? So what you would probably do is you would go through your life, I remember childhood and the connections, the group of people I was with in my childhood, or my teens, who I went to high school with, or maybe if I went to college or university, or my first job, or my family, my extended family, who I get together with now, my coworkers, those kind of things. And so, yeah, I think there'd be quite a few people who would come to my funeral and pay tribute or celebrate my life, whatever we want to call. Now, every time I do a funeral, I usually meet with the family beforehand, and we go through all kinds of things to better understand this life and the legacy that's left for us. And we talk through things like their favorite foods, or maybe their favorite songs, hobbies and pastimes, funny stories and situations like that. But inevitably, it comes to the question of, where do you want to hold the funeral? And so sometimes we would hold the funeral at a funeral home, or sometimes it's held at a church, or sometimes it's outside. And it could be different places depending on the seating capacity needed. And I usually ask them, well, how many people do you expect? And normally they come back and they'll say, well, I think we need to have it at the church because we're expecting a lot of people to come to this funeral to pay tribute to this person's life. Now, having done this many times myself in pastoring over a funeral, I usually understand that when they say that, they're maybe expecting more people than actually come. In fact, many times the auditorium might be half full, or 3/4 full, or 1/3 full. It's rarely ever full when we think about how many people are actually going to come and then the amount of people who do come. And usually I will express to the family, here's the reasons why, all right? People maybe they're working, and in our economic state right now, they can't afford to take a day off work. I might mention to them that people can't afford the plane ticket, or wherever they need to drive from, or wherever they're going. And so I try to help the family understand that maybe the amount of people we thought were going to come maybe won't come. And listen, the number of people that we know, it doesn't reflect the number of real friends that we have. I mean, we have a lot of acquaintances, but it doesn't reflect how many people are actually our friends, right? In fact, Solomon says this in Proverbs 18:24. It reads like this: "One who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother." These are the people who are going to show up at your funeral. These are the people who you can depend on. And I think it's important to know that closer than a brother or a sister, I mean, how could we define that? I mean, if we were looking at what is a friend, all right? If we were just kind of asking that question, what is a friend? How could we define that? Well, I just jotted some things down. I think true friendship is being able to get together with someone and take off your mask. I know. I know in this situation, I'm not talking about physical masks, all right? I'm just talking about like being yourself and just kind of letting it just hang out, just kind of totally being 100% you, and you don't have to put on some type of facade or mask when you get together with this type of person. This is acceptance. This is deep safety. You're able to express and to share things that maybe you wouldn't share with anyone else. It's totally safe place in a true friendship. You do what's best for them instead of what you can get out of it, right? There's a mutual understanding that we are going to look out for one another, and we're going to get through these things together rather than me just seeing what I can get out of it. It's a give and take kind of situation that satisfies both parties, all right? I know that's a long definition, but I think that's a kind of understanding of what friendship is. And so who should be a friend? Who should be a friend? I think this is important, right? Solomon is said to be the wisest man who ever lived. And he says this in Proverbs 13:20. It says this, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." Walk with the wise, right? Walk with the wise. What he's essentially telling us is choose your friends wisely and invest in those people and invite them into your inner circle, your closest relationships, and make sure that you're investing 100% in those people. But on the other hand, if you don't choose your friends wisely, what will happen is that you will kind of turn into them. They will rub off on you. Their character traits or lack thereof, you will start being like them by association. A companion of fools suffers harm, right? I mean, there's often times when I meet people in the grocery store, I meet them at outside or whatever, or maybe it's at the end of the service and someone will come up to me at the end of service and they'll say, or at the grocery store or whatever, like, here's why I haven't been to church in so long, right? They begin the conversation like that, and sometimes I'm just like, well, that's not what I asked you. I'm not convicting you, but they're guilty or they have that on their conscience, and they say, well, here's how it started. I was started hanging out with my coworkers, or started to get together with these people, and what was happening? We would go out late on a Saturday night, and then it'd be really early to try to get to church the next day, or we started going kayaking, or joined some yoga class, or whatever it is on Sunday mornings, and before I knew it, I wasn't going, and I stopped volunteering, and I wasn't showing up to my life group, and now I just feel like I'm in a real bad place, and really, it's the same story that I've heard time and time again, and quite frankly, I'm kind of sick of it, right? Because you're hanging around with the wrong people, and you become like them, right? That's what Solomon is saying, that the wisest man who ever lived is the companion of fools. Not saying that people are necessarily foolish, but their thought patterns are not looking out for the growth and the development of your character and your soul and who you are. See, Solomon warns us, a companion of fools suffers harm. And parents, you teach your kids this, right? You teach your kids this when they go off to school. You tell them at a young age, make sure you're hanging around with so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. I really like this person. Let's invite them over. Let's make our house the place where kids want to come, because I don't want you to necessarily go to kids who are going to kind of rub off on you, or you are going to become like them. We identify those people, and we try to help our children make good relationships. Many of you whose children maybe are in dating relationships, and maybe it's an unequally yoked relationship where someone who believes in Jesus and follows Jesus is dating someone who doesn't. And it's not that they're a bad person. They could be a very, very good person, but it's sometimes difficult when your values and your ethics and your morals and your mission in life, when those don't align, right? And so we kind of tell our kids, or maybe we drop them off at university or college, and they're going to a secular university or college, and we look them in the eye and we say, listen, make sure you wrap yourself with good relationships, with good friendships. Be wise in this, because you will eventually become who you hang out with, right? That's what we teach our kids, and yet we have such a difficult time living this ourselves. We have such a difficult time doing this for us, right? Because when you surround yourself with foolish people, you become like them. But when you surround yourself with wise, mature followers of Jesus, or really, really good people, it doesn't even have to be a follower of Jesus, but just good people who understand that there's more to life than what they can gain themselves, right? You become like them. See, foolish people can be really likable. In fact, at the beginning of a relationship, they're the ones that we love the most. They're the most fun. They do the most crazy things, but oftentimes, as that goes longer and longer and further, that relationship becomes maybe even toxic. The things that they lead us into, that they call us to do. And so Solomon has it's a relational assessment here. And so he's asking us, hey, look at your relationships, look at your friendships, the people who you come in contact with. There's some key things that you really need to avoid here when you look at your relationships, and just do an assessment. And it comes to us in Proverbs 6:16 to 19. It says this: there are six things the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked schemes, feet that are quick to rush into evil, a false witness who pours out lies, and a person who stirs up conflict in the community. All right, so he's listed a whole bunch of things here, and some of them were like haughty eyes. What are you talking about? I'm not going to hang out with people who shed innocent blood. Yeah, obviously that's pretty simple. But let me just put this in plain English. Just simplify this a little bit, because it's really revealing to us. See, Solomon is saying that the traits in people who you are in relationship with, if they exhibit some of these things, you got to put up your guard. It doesn't mean you have to kind of throw them out of your life. It just means they're the ones that maybe you don't invest in as much, right? You're not putting the time and the energy and the effort into. You're not opening yourselves up as much as you would those people who you want to become like, right? You can still pray for them. You can still invite them to church. You can still try to lead them to Jesus. You can try to be a good influence on them. But they're just not the people who maybe are safe for you to open up to. And so let's just go through this list, just in plain English. So the first one is this: pride. Pride, people who look down. These are the haughty eyes, right? People who look down on other people. And so-and-so, they don't have whatever. They don't have a nice car. Or so-and-so, I can't believe they do that for a living. Or so-and-so, can you believe they're her hair or his hair or the way they look? And they look down on other people to build themselves up, and they're toxic. And so you understand that. Solomon understands it. He gives us that as number one. Number two is this: dishonesty. People who lie, people who hide the truth, people who exaggerate the truth, right? I mean, we've all kind of done this. We've all exaggerated things. We've all told little white lies, those kind of things. And I'm not dismissing that, but if this is who you are, in everything that you do, you lie. It's almost pathological, and it's so easy to slip into this and to say little things that kind of twist it or exaggerate, or people who hide the truth from others, right? Dishonesty it's toxic, right? Or number 3 here, he says this: people who are mean, just generally mean, people who use their power to exploit others, people who oppress the weak. So they, for personal gain, they oppress the weak. They push them down as low as they can go so they can lift themselves up as high as they can, all right? People who are looking for trouble. They're looking for trouble. They justify their actions to keep doing wrong things. I mean, we could see this in so many situations. We can see this with sometimes with large corporations. We can see this in political parties and politicians. We can see this with anybody in a leadership position. But people who justify their actions by renaming them, right? I mean, you could take at different industries that we know are toxic and bad, and all they do is just twist what they're doing and call it something else. For example, you look at the something like the porn industry, right? That they wouldn't call that what it is. They would call it entertainment, right? They would call it something that justifies their actions to make it look acceptable. And so people who are looking for trouble, that's what they do. They justify their actions. They call it something different. It makes them feel okay, and then they can keep going on and doing it, right? Or what about this? Gossip and slander. People who spread false information for the sheer delight of tearing down someone else. It's just not even true. I've experienced this in my life. I've experienced this being the pastor of the church. People will say something, and I get third or fourth hand information, and it doesn't make you feel good, right? And so people who express false truths about someone else, and it's a complete lie, right? And it's dishonest, and it tears it all apart. Or finally, this one, divisiveness. People who polarize and throw bombs. Who polarize and throw bombs. And so you can easily identify, even on a quick conversation, you can tell people who polarizing or people who are unifying, right? People who get into a conversation and it's just everything about them is just trying to cause problems, right? And stir up conflict and create. You see this on Facebook all the time. People actually enjoy doing this. You can tell if someone is unifying or polarizing. You can tell if someone wants to build bridges or they want to break bridges by throwing bombs, right? And so you can tell it right away. You see this super quickly when you get into conversations with people, or you see their Facebook feed, right? Or their Instagram feed, what they're trying to do and who they think they are or want to become. See, this kind of stuff, Solomon wants us. He says, this kind of stuff will rub off on you. These characters, you will turn into these people if you have them in your life on a regular basis and they're really close. But he's saying that good things also rub off on us. And there's good traits that we can instill in our lives. And so I'm going to talk to the expert this week, and she'll introduce herself to you in this video clip. And so check it out.
And so we have a special guest today, and some of you might recognize her, some of you might not, but why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Diane Smith. I live in Belleville now, but 2.5 years ago we moved to Belleville, but we used to live in Kempville and attended Southgate for almost 16 years.
16 years. Yeah, you were a pillar of our church, you and Pete, and all the time and energy you guys invested in this place and the people of this place. And we are so thankful for the two of you. And I especially loved how you made time for so many people. And personally, selfishly, I loved your brownies, affectionately known as DB brownies. And so those were delicious. And so thank you so much for those.
You're so welcome.
So how are you and Pete doing in this pandemic and kind of being socially distanced from other people?
We're doing okay. And at first it was okay. And we were finding lots to do. We kind of were enjoying the non-schedule for a bit, not for too long, but for a little bit, we kind of enjoyed that. And I think as time's gone on and it's gotten longer, it's been getting more difficult. And being hands off of people is really hard for me. So I'm really, I guess, yearning to see people and give some hugs out, receive some hugs, that kind of thing. But we've been making do by doing other things. This Zoom thing is great. FaceTiming. We've even used snail mail lately.
Wow.
And done a lot of doorstep drop-offs of goodies, that kind of thing. So we're getting along.
All right. So my impression of you is that you are a mother to all. And so you are someone who I know invests in other people. You love other people. You want to encourage them, to draw the best out of them. You don't, I don't think that you have very many enemies. It seems like everyone just loves you. And so I asked you to be the expert this week in terms of relationships. And so why are relationships so important in our lives?
Well, I think, Ben, it's because to me, God's gifted us with those people and for a reason. And I always have felt like we need to make the best of it. And it's, as we're doing that, we're receiving the reward of it. So you're giving and taking too. It's not all one-sided. Some people are more needy sometimes at a certain time of their life, but you're getting fed back in some other way from some other person. And it's just, to me, it's worth getting up in the morning and thinking about people and what can I do today. And I'm not trying to make it sound like it's all me, because I get back to a lot. So I'm very fulfilled by it. And it's a gift. It's a gift God's given me. So
yeah, so it sounds like it's a reciprocal thing, right? It's maybe like looking out for the best in someone else, but it's a safe enough place that you probably know that they're going to look out for the best in you as well, right?
Yeah, eventually. Sometimes they have to learn that. God's brought me to a lot of people that have been in difficult places and they need a little more of your attention at first, but for some reason you're drawn to them, you stick with it, and it becomes a rewarding relationship. And that's great. It's nothing bad about it. It's worth investing in people.
Yeah.
well worth it. Yeah. And it's a little bit difficult to do under this quarantine, but there's things you can do about that too. You can thank goodness for the media and being able to reach people that way. Like, I've heard a lot of things about how it was in World War I and II, when people didn't even know what was going on in the world, except sometimes a little bit by radio. And that was their only communication. So we have so much to be thankful for.
Yeah, well, that's a great segue to the next question. I mean, so practically speaking, if we can't connect with people as much as we should, and it looks like we might be able to in the next few weeks to maybe broaden our circles a little bit, which I'm looking forward to. I'm sure you are too. But what practically, what can we do right now to look out for the best in other people, or look out for other people, and to kind of foster our relationships?
Keep in contact by whichever way you can. Communicate with them. Telephone, Zoom, FaceTime, Messenger time. There's all kinds of things like that. Drive-bys. We've done so many birthday drive-bys lately, and they're a lot of fun. And that person, like, thrilled. We did it for a 40-year-old recently and a 50-year-old. So a lot of those things have gone. Those people are having those birthdays during this time, or they've met some milestones. And just to have a few people acknowledge it in whatever way, I think that means a lot to them. So things like that. Dropping off little surprises at people's doors. I love to knock on the door and run after I've left something. I try to run. But all those things, I think it's been done to us. We've had people, drop in, knock on the door, and stand 6 feet away and talk to us. Yeah. So we can do it. We can do it. And I think that I've been very thankful that our country has quickly put this in place for us to help, keep the curve down and keep people safe and healthy. So.
Yeah. So it sounds like intentionality is a big thing, right? And making sure that you do that. One of the things that I do is I make a lot of lists. My wife and I were known for lists, and making sure that we cross. Oh my goodness. Terrible. I think I haven't done this before. All right. So intentionality is what I'm hearing is a big, important part in this. And one of the things that, Emily and I do is we make a lot of lists, list of things that we want to get accomplished for the week or for that day. I do that in my job as pastor here at the church. And we do that with people who we want to get together with. And how can we make time for that? Or what can we do? And I think what it sounds like is that you are intentionally looking out for other people, and how can you play into their lives?
Yep, absolutely. And I think that for me, if I don't make those lists, it doesn't get done, because kind of your day gets rolling, and before you know it, you filled it with something else. So lists really help. Sometimes spontaneity, though. You'll get a call and that person needs to hear from you, or needs to see you, or needs something from you, or is going through something. It isn't always about lists for me. Sometimes it's in the moment. So, yeah. And that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, we miss you, and we wish you didn't live in Belleville, but we're happy you're closer to some of your family at least. And so thanks so much for giving us your time.
Thanks for asking me. It's good to see you.
Right? So good. She's like a mother to all. I don't think she has any enemies. I just love Diane, and that's why I wanted to talk with her, because she invests in other people. She's a mentor to so many, and because of that, people are attracted to her. They want what she has. And I think that's really important, all right? And so those kind of people, it catches on. And so here's what I want you to do. I just want you to assess your friendships. I think there's three key types of friendships here. three key types that we see. And sometimes we think that everyone has to be our friends. And it's kind of exhausting to do that in relationships, that everyone has to be close to us, or we need to invest in everybody. But there are some real categories of relationships and friendships. And here's the first one. These are by association friendships, by association relationships, right? These are the people who are in your life because of something that you do. So they could be coworkers. They could be your hairdresser or your hairstylist, right? It could be a very, very good people, and you get together with them on a regular basis to get your hair done. But if your hairdresser moved to Toronto, you're probably not like following up. Maybe you are, but you're probably not driving to Toronto to go get your hair cut. It was by association that you had that relationship, or you play hockey, or you play golf with a bunch of guys, right? They're by association relationships, and when that association breaks down, and you're not on that hockey team anymore, you're on a different hockey team, you're really not in relationship with anymore. You're not connecting with them anymore. And so that friendship, that relationship just kind of dissolves. And that's okay. It's okay to have those relationships, right? This category, though, you can find true friends, real friends, seasonal friends, like we're going to talk about in a second. You can find real friends in that by association category just simply by getting to know more people, right? And so let's talk about the second category. It's seasonal friends. And so I don't know if you've ever been in this situation where you've had people in your life who you really connected with, you hung out on a regular basis. Maybe you were neighbors, maybe you were friends, and you were friends for maybe 5 years or 10 years, maybe a college friend or a buddy, right? Maybe in high school, your group of friends. And then for that season, it was really good. And then you kind of move all over the world or all over Canada or wherever you go, and you don't see them really ever again. You don't see them. But for that time, it was really good. And I'm just here to say that's okay. It's okay to have seasonal friends. And they play a part in our lives, and we play a part in their life, right? I had this notion when I first came to Southgate that all of us staff, we were going to be best friends. All right, we were going to be best friends. We were going to some of us who were married, we're going to have kids, and maybe our kids we would raise our kids together, and we'd hang out together after work, and we would retire all together and see what God is going to do through all of us. It's just like a pipe dream, where in reality, it doesn't work that way. There are really good people, but not all of them are close friends, and that's okay, right? That's okay, because seasonal friends are all right, and sometimes someone decides to just go and move on, and God's called them somewhere else, and so that friendship kind of dissolves, like it wasn't like it used to be, and that's okay, right? Seasonal friends are all right, which leads us to the third category: lifelong friends. Lifelong friends. These are the keepers, but really hard to find, and not everybody has them. Now, not everyone has these friends who stick with you your entire life. I mean, you might not see them for years and years and years, and then you get back together, and it's just like it was, right? These are the people who stick with you closer than a brother, closer than a sister. They're with you for the long haul. And these are the people who show up at your funeral. These are the people who share at that celebration of life. These are the people who reflect on those funny times, those good times. These are the people who are godparents for your kids. These are important people in your life, and you make the effort to stay in touch because of how close you are. And so where do your friends fit in here? I mean, if you were doing a friend assessment, where do your friends line up? How would you categorize them? And are there people that you should juggle around? Based on Solomon's recommendations, obviously. Is there some people that you should be moving around in these categories to really highlight who you should invest in? You know that that's not bad, right? In fact, we look at Luke 10, verse 1, and it reads like this: After this, the Lord appointed 72 others and sent them 2 by 2 ahead of him to every town and place where he was about to go. You realize that's what Jesus did? Not all friends were equal. He didn't invest in everybody the same way, and he's the Son of God. It's okay to do that. In fact, we see specific categories in Jesus' life that maybe can serve as a model for us. If we look at these categories, we see these in Jesus' life. The 72, right, that we just mentioned in Luke 10. The 72, he's investing in them, he's coaching them, he's their teacher, they follow him, they are disciples basically. And there could have been more than 72, but these are the people who he associates with, right? These are by association, he connects with them. But then there's a closer inner circle who are the 12. They're the 12 disciples. And he invests a lot more. He does day-to-day things. These are people who are really close to him. He lives day in and day out with them. He eats meals with them. He ministers with them. He works together with them. These are his friends. They're close friends of his. And for that ministry time in his life, those 3 years of public ministry, these guys were with him all the way, right? But then there's 2 more groups here. There's a group of 3, we find, the inner group of friends, Peter, James, and John. And we see them highlighted a few times that they are close to Jesus in a way that maybe the other disciples are not. He's able to share vulnerabilities with him. He's able to share things that no one else gets to see or participate in because he's investing in them and he's allowing them into his inner circle. But there's another set of 3 as well. Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. This brother and sisters kind of trifecta here, right? And he's able to shoot the breeze with them. He's able to kind of sit down and relax, put his feet up, and just enjoy good company and chat. We need to have these in our life. And if Jesus does this, maybe we are called to do the same thing. See, Jesus knew the importance of investing in others through relationships. He knew that was so very vital, so very important for fulfillment in our lives and growth in our spiritual walk. But he also knew he needed to be strategic who he let be close to him, right? And so where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? I jotted down some next steps for us. And here they are. Number 1, evaluate the people in your life. Make your relationship group smaller or larger. Maybe you saw the lifelong friends. Maybe you feel like I don't have any. I have some people who seem maybe it's like they're seasonal friends right now, but really I need lifelong friends. And I'm going to invest in them to bring them into my inner circle. I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to be open to them, right? I'm going to invest in them and they will invest in me. Or maybe there's some people who are in that inner circle. Maybe they are lifelong friends, or you thought they were, but you identify them in the things that Solomon was saying, right? And you need to maybe take them out of that inner circle. What about this one, number 2? Invest deeply into the friends you identify as key lifelong relationships. Make those people important in your life. Make time for them. Invest in them. And share your heart with them. Do life together, right? And that leads me to number 3. Schedule time. Emily and I, this is one of the things that we love to do is we make lists to accomplish as much as we can, right? We also schedule things into our life, not in a crazy pace. It might feel like that sometimes, but we accomplish and we get things done. We're more intentional when we schedule it into our lives. So schedule these people in. Share experience with them. Go on vacation with them. Connect with them. Have them to your house maybe on a weekly basis for dinner, right? Learn together. Go to a conference together. Read a book. Join a book club with them. Have fun together. Do fun and crazy things together and follow through with them. Do what you say you're going to do. Pray for them. Love them and invest in them, all right? Take these next 3 steps and jump into your relationships. Focus on that. You are entrusted with many things in your life, and relationships are vital for your spiritual growth. Let me pray. Jesus, we thank you that we can just learn from you so in so many ways, and you knew the value of relationships and investing in others. And so, Father, we want to model that in our lives. We thank you for wise people like Solomon who kind of just give us a roadmap, an example of how to look at our relationships and to evaluate them and to understand that we become who we hang out with, really. And God, during this pandemic, it's a time where we really need to focus in on what we are entrusted with. And who are the people I'm going to actually try to invest in, whether it's a phone call or an email or a FaceTime or whatever it is, God, that you would lay a burden on our heart to invest deeper in the people who are close to us. And Father, we want to live our lives best for you, in the seen and the unseen in our lives. We thank you for all that you trust us with. In Jesus' name, amen.
So good. So who can you connect with this week? Make some time in your schedule and intentionally connect and grow those relationships. See you next week.